Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. Today we're going to talk about his Dark Materials, specifically Season 2 and the visual effects. A lot of fun stuff. A little bit carried over, obviously, from Season 1, but going to be a really, really fun time. So Nick, you want to start us off with this?
Yes. Okay, guys. So we did a bear fight of Season 1. We broke down the bear fight with the VFX, and it was really cool. We went into the whole, detail and everything. We probably touched on a little bit with the puppets and stuff, but we're going to touch on it again because you can't have his Dark Materials without demons.
The demons, yes.
You have to have them there, so they have to have the effects.
And one of the coolest things is I don't even think about them being effects anymore. They become such a natural, usual part of the show that at first I was like, oh my gosh, look at these cool CG animals. And now I'm just like, oh yeah, she's talking to her demon, just regular everyday stuff. You know, it's like
everyday stuff in Lyra's world for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's making it feel like it's normal, which is what a good effect should do. It shouldn't be standing out all the time. It should just aid the story.
Yes. Okay, so John, let's talk about the puppets. So we talked about it a little bit in Season 1, but obviously it's here in Season 2 again. They have puppets on the set with the actors. One, it can be because, it's helping with the keying to, not keying, but like positioning of where the animation is going to go, a little bit of acting, and also to help the actors to have something physically there present.
Yes.
I mean, this is miles better than Life of Pi, where they just had like a blue stuffed animal on the kid's lap,
which is hilarious looking. Yeah, that's so funny. And even this is, so they have puppeteers on set kind of working the puppets.
Yes.
And this is even going further in certain cases as far as help to the actors. And we did virtual production with Mandalorian, which is amazing. But you can have these cool backgrounds, but it still doesn't have something physically right next to you when you're acting, which is what the whole purpose of this puppet is. You can look at this thing. You're not having to guess your eye line like they did in Lord of the Rings when doing the forced perspective stuff. It's all right there. And they have somebody puppeteering, a professional puppeteer, to where it actually feels like you're interacting with this, even if it's just a stand-in puppet.
But John, with great stuff comes bad stuff, right? So let's talk about the VFX.
I thought you were going to say Spider-Man responsibility, but with great stuff comes bad stuff. Okay.
We're in Lyra's world right now. Okay. So basically, if they, like Lord of the Rings, most of the time the best shots for the actors are when the puppet's there, or when the interaction's happening with the puppets, which means clean plates. That means they got to remove the character, put in the CG character. So it's like an added extra step.
Yeah, so Nick and I were talking about this just very briefly before we started rolling. I said, I'm curious to hear your take on the puppets, because my thought is, so they were explaining in this feature, we'll link some of the features just so you guys can watch some of these, but they were talking about how a lot of shots they would have the puppeteer stand in just for reference. So when the actor's acting, okay, this is what it would be doing roughly right at the spot. And then when they actually do another take, they're not there anymore. But what they found in Lord of the Rings a lot is when Andy Serkis was there, even in his gimp suit, it ended up being a much better performance than if he wasn't actually there. And so they ended up keeping a lot of the shots with him in there, but then they had to take him out. And when we say take out, we mean go through the laborious, crazy process of taking him out. And if they have a moving shot, a non-moving shot is somewhat easier, a lot easier, because you take a section when they're not standing there and you can patch that background. But when you have a moving shot, then you get into a whole other realm of 3D matching and stuff and
tracking.
So I'm curious. I'm very curious what the percentage is.
Parallel with the background, depending on how far your background is, and everything's moving at different speeds and.
Yeah, the parallax stuff, It's crazy stuff, So I'm curious what the percentage is of when they use the puppeteers in the shots and when they just use the blind pass where the puppeteers aren't in there. But I'm glad they have that, because it just gives you a much better reference. And traditional approach, but still serves a very, very modern day purpose. So really cool stuff.
So now let's jump into the new visual effects character, I guess you can say, in Season 2, the Specters.
I was a character? Like, okay, yeah.
Monsters? So, John, what did you think? Like they could have did the Army of the Dead. They could have did Dementors, but no, they did their own thing. Thank goodness they did their own thing. And it's this creepy liquid smoke through the sky.
But yeah, you know what? I mean, obviously when I saw them and when Nick saw them the first time we talked, like, oh, they're kind of like Dementors, but they clearly have their own look, which is really, really cool. And it has this cool, like, every time I see them, I think of the software package Houdini they do visual effects, is that cool. I don't know if that's what they use, but they have this really cool flowing organic look to them. They're just kind of, they don't have mouths, they're not talking, they're not trying to make it look all weird like in the third Matrix movie where they have the swarm and talking and stuff. It's like they're just these ominous beings, but they have a good explanation in the world. And I love the look of them. I think they're super, super
really cool.
They're very beautiful, even though there's these menacing kids. They're very beautiful in how they flow and stuff.
No, and it looked like it was all mostly like done in Real Flow or Houdini. Or some not even Houdini. It's what's the other one?
I think it'd be Houdini. It's not Real Flow. Real Flow is liquids, I think.
Yeah. Real Flow is, man, that's the program I used when I was in school.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Still around, but not as prominent as it was
nowadays.
Oh, it is, but not as prominent as it was. Yeah, but Houdini, that's my guess. I don't know, obviously. What was the other one you're trying to think of?
Oh, I don't know. Now I'm all confused. I'm thinking of Real Flow. That was the first. That was the first one that I learned in college. Like that's one I remember, like with a buddy of mine. Was it Abo? I think it was Abo. We were like opening up and trying to do a splash. We're like, oh, let's see, whoa.
And then you realize you have to wait weeks for one 5-second shot. You're like, well, this is cool, but it lost its, appeal pretty quick.
We just didn't have the computer power to do these awesome stuff.
Even now, I mean, that type of stuff, like those, fluid and particle simulations, like again with the Specters, those take a long time to render. Some of the most expensive, time-consuming stuff to do, for sure. But beautiful, though. Yes. Serve the context of the story wonderfully.
And then let's talk about...
let me ask. This is just a quick side note. We're going to focus mostly on visual effects, but when they describe the Specters in the books, does the description in the books go along with the visuals in this, or do they take a different approach?
In my head, I don't know if it's because I watched Harry Potter.
You had already seen it. Oh no!
But I had the Dementors in my mind because they felt like beings that would follow people, and then they wait for them to consume their demons and stuff like that. So, and you know what's interesting? This was written before Harry Potter, so I mean the Dementors could have been inspired by this book.
Very much. I mean, this is like 20 years back when the books were written. I think a long time ago.
Even the ideas with the witches and stuff like that. Even a couple of the names, I'm like I think it was like Ruta Scotty is a character in this book, and then you have Ruta Skeeter in Harry Potter. So I wonder if it was like inspired at all. I have no idea. I'm just like making random.
If you guys have any side notes on this, put them down in the comments.
You know what, guys?
I want to see if Nick's way off.
In-depth reviews of the episodes and characters breakdowns. We have Kyle come on, who's an expert at his Dark Materials.
Yes,
and
expert.
We talk deep theories. So if you guys want more his Dark Materials, more than just visual effects stuff, subscribe. We're gonna be putting out, hopefully every other week, some kind of good deep dive
stuff like that. Yeah,
his Dark Materials.
Anyway, and there's a plethora of his Dark Material content already. So this is not a one-off video by any means. Yeah, we have plenty of options.
We're big fans of the show, and me and Kyle have read the book, so we have a little bit of extra knowledge to share with everyone. Yeah, and we're not going to spoil anything. We're going to just enhance the viewership. So what's really cool about the city of Chitagatse, I think that's the name of the town. Man, now I feel like I'm messing stuff up. Whenever I'm on the spot.
The city of Bow Chicka Wow Wow.
But anyways, it was a cool interview they did with the people that designed the town. And it was cool that they kind of designed it in a way where there was no blue screens and the streets kind of led off in different corners. So you're able to just be immersed in this world. And it reminded me a lot. We always talk about Lord of the Rings all the time because that's like our favorite movie and VFX movie of all time. But it reminded me of Minas Tirith. Because in Minas Tirith, the way they built the sets there, where you can shoot it from multiple different angles and different things and different little pathways that led nowhere. There's even a rat shop, right, John? You were mentioning there's a rat shop.
It's like the rat catcher. Like they made it up. They're like, what is this? I don't know. That's the rat catcher. And everybody's like, okay, that's the rat catcher, I guess. Yeah.
But basically, that's how they designed this city. And it was like probably perfect for the younger actors. Just to be able to be like, in the world and in the environment and all the detail and stuff. That's so cool. Because
I was gonna say that's one thing they said in the kind of behind the scenes feature that we watched is like, yeah, they even had prices for all the items in the windows, things that you were never gonna. And this is the exact same thing they said in Minas Tirith in Lord of the Rings. Like, yeah, details that you're not gonna see, but just still adds an extra texture to the world. And it's just cool because you think about how often you get to work on something that intricate and detailed as a professional, and I'm sure it's a dream for them to be able to get to do that. You know?
No, it's totally true. And it's so funny because it reminds me of The Hobbit, when like Sir Ian McKellen had a breakdown on set because he just wasn't acting with no one. He was just surrounded by green screen.
This is Gandalf, by the way. Gandalf had a breakdown, yeah.
And like they were like probably had like tons of sticks with little tennis balls on the end of it and markers to like trying to be the dwarves and Bilbo and stuff. And I think he had like a breakdown. It was even to the point where I think he even said something like, he didn't know if he even wanted to be an actor anymore after this, because that
was the first day of shooting. I think that happened too. They had him back in, bag in, and he's like, "What is this? This is not what we did on the first trilogy. Like, what are you doing?" Yeah. So, but this is cool because his Dark Materials is the exact opposite. They had this really cool city that you look and you could repurpose it in all different ways, and just really, really cool that they, and obviously you could tell they put a lot of care into that because they used the heck out of it this entire season. When Nick was saying in the difference between the books and the movies, or in the show, that Kyle and Nick were talking about, is they're not in that city that long in the actual book, but here they keep it as a recurring character, which I love because I think it worked really well. If you're going to put all the money into it,
use it. You know what I mean?
And if it doesn't get stale, if it would have gotten stale, like a big sin of visual effects is you work hard on creating an environment or a prop or something, and then you want to use the heck out of it because you put so much time and money into it. Whereas, and that's something George Lucas said, there's really cool. It's From Star Wars to Jedi is the name of the featurette. It is George Lucas and Industrial Light and Magic talking to the first trilogy. And he says, yeah, one of the big mistakes is you linger on an effect too long. The effect should aid the story and then move along with the story.
That's really good.
And so I thought that was a cool, yeah.
So let us know what you guys think of the visual effects. Did you guys like it? Is there something we missed? I mean, we can also talk about oh my gosh, hold on. Before we jump to that stuff, we got to talk about the knife. The effect of cutting worlds, John. What the heck? We got a teaser of it in season 1. I remember us talking about how cool it looked, to where it just looked like it was like these spaghetti noodles, like super thin noodles that were just kind of floating around in midair. And we're like, whoa. But it was so cool to actually see him cut, and the way the effect was done. Like, I thought it was done super.
And you know what? I just love how, I mean, Nick and Kyle had obviously gone through the books at this point, but I just love that now the opening where you have, you know, the splits in the different worlds makes sense as you're getting more effects and story in the actual show. But it's a cool effect. It certain times the camera is physically moving to where it has to stick to that spot in space, which again would be a 3D track unless they have some hardware device that automatically tracks it. So it's just really cool because it's like, okay, this thing exists here. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but it serves a purpose perfectly. And it's still, just because it's simplistic looking doesn't mean it's a simple effect to pull off. I mean, it's definitely complex, but it looks really, really cool.
I mean, because think about it. If you're moving the camera, that means the world on the other side's moving too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you gotta
and it's offset because of the parallax, and a lot of cool stuff is going on there. But really whenever you see the camera physically moving in an effect shot, that means it just got exponentially more difficult to do. Whereas if it was still locked off camera, it's still difficult, but a lot of the issues you have to deal with are no longer concerns. So really, really cool stuff.
Those shots always like stand the test of time, I feel like, too. Like if you think back to the Matrix shot, they could have just did a slow motion of him moving backwards, but by it going in 3D space, you know what I mean? Like it just adds like this whole other layer to it that's just like, whoa, you know?
But that being said, the Matrix was a lot about that. We want to show you something you've never seen before. Whereas in this show, we just want you to see the story. Yes. We don't want you to see the effects, which is cool. I mean, that's one of the hardest things to do.
That's true.
Where you're not thinking about like things like demons and cutting holes into other worlds and stuff like that. Really cool.
I know. I can't wait for next season. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening. There's like epic battles, there's angels and other crazy stuff and other creatures that we haven't seen yet in this world. It's going to be awesome. I see the budget going up. It just got green lit for season 3, by the way. It wasn't even green lit yet. And they actually filmed season 1 and 2 together. And they did that all together. So that was one budget. So they might get the same budget for season 1 and 2 for season 3 alone. you know. And also the kids, though, that means the kids, like, it's been like a year or two since we saw them on camera. They're gonna look so much older.
Yeah, they're gonna look way different. That's gonna be interesting because kids obviously do. Well, Will is a little bit older, he seems like.
Yeah, but they're gonna age.
But Lyra,
age.
yeah. So I mean, I remember that was a big thing in It Chapter 2 is they had the kids and they had to digitally de-age all of the kids doing heavy CG because they had grown up. I think the kids in It were a little bit younger, so they aged more quickly. But yeah, I mean, we could definitely see a difference because I didn't know until Nick told me the other day that they filmed season 1 and 2 at the same time. So one, we're gonna have to wait longer than we did last time to get season 3. And beyond that, it's like, what are the differences going to be by then as far as the actors and stuff? So they might have to do some digital witchcraft to make them look young. I don't know. Hopefully not.
Good thing there's witches in this world.
And they don't use brooms. I thought that was a cool thing about effects as well. Is they just made a decision that, you know what, the witches in the books are riding brooms. We're just going to have them fly like, you know, well, I guess like Wonder Woman. Since Wonder Woman now knows how to fly, but I thought that was interesting choices for effects as well.
And then we have to give props to the animators too for the animals. Like the whole Lee sequence when he was going away in the rat. It was just like it's the performances these animals give. It's not too much. It's like just enough to be like part of the soul, but it's not like it's Roger Rabbit like taking control of the whole scene. Like, hey, I'm Smeagol or I'm Dobby. Look at me here. They're just like extra parts to the person's soul, and you can really tell that from the way they act and move and stuff too. I just love it. I think that's why it works too. They're not over the top. They're there, but they're not like, you know, like moving constantly.
Well, I mean, they're completely believable characters where, okay, you're acting as an ensemble cast, and it's the same thing. I mean, some of the best acting I remember from the season is Mrs. Coulter's, what type of monkey is that?
The golden hair monkey.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what kind of monkey it is. It's always referred to in the book, the golden hair monkey. And everyone says the golden hair monkey, like, oh crap, get away, it's the golden hair monkey.
but especially with that particular character, the only demon that doesn't talk, it has to do even more acting with its emotions. And man, you get a strong feeling the struggle that demon has with Mrs. Coulter. So it's like really cool. Yeah, I mean, talk about a dysfunctional relationship. Yeah.
Pretty soon you'll see the monkey on the street, like with the tambourine thing or whatever, dancing.
All right, guys. So let us know what you've been thinking about the effects in season 2 and in season 1, because there is a crossover with the demons and all that stuff as well. Let us know if anything's taking you out of the experience. I've had the fun where I'm noticing the demons and effects even less as I'm just enjoying the story, and they're becoming regular characters I'm used to seeing. Let us know if you're seeing the same, you're seeing different things, if you're noticing difference between the books and the shows and things like that. Like Nick said, we're going to be dropping quite a bit of material as far as deep dives on story and things like that. If you'd like us to cover other things on visual effects as well, we love this stuff. If you have making ofs that you found, we've looked at a good number, but if you see ones that we don't have listed, let us know. We'd fun to check that stuff out. So go ahead and head over to AsArt.space for the audio and video links. Hit subscribe if you like what we're doing here. We'll see you on the next AsArt.